thing to think about when we consider neurodiversity, empathy, because very often neurodiverse people are labeled as being apathetic or having empathy problems when it comes to socialization, but that's actually not true. The reality is that we have multiple forms of empathy and empathetic interaction that we are dealing with in every moment. And as we were in the space last week, I was reflecting on this, and I saw that there's really 4 types of empathy that I feel we as neurodiverse people have to process. And so we're going to talk about these 4 today. I'm going to give a little breakdown or a little intro to each one, and then we'll get it going. So the first is hyper empathy. And there was some mention last week of how like people who are autistic or neurodivergent get a double empathy impact. That's technically what's called hyper empathy, where it's an excessive form of empathy, and a person experiences an overly intense emotional reaction to the feelings, thoughts, and experiences of others. This is something that can lead to immense difficulty in managing one's own emotions and feelings of burnout, especially when there's not the ability to regulate and communicate what one is feeling to others in a way that gets across clearly. If you're getting bombarded by so many emotions and sensations and things, then you can't necessarily tell what's you and what's around you. So that's the hyper empathy. The double empathy problem is something that's been recognized as the difference in communication between neurodivergent and neurotypical individuals, where neurodivergent adults and children have one form of communication and empathy that we use with one another, and neurotypical individuals have another form. And so there's a mismatch in communication between the two. The third is toxic empathy, when we focus so much on the needs of others that we abandon our own needs, and we mask and cover up what we need for ourselves in order to please the world around us. And the last is my favorite, neurodivergent empathy. I don't know if this has even been coined clinically, but it's something that I thought up last week in terms of just that joyful, connective, intuitive empathy that we share with one another. So those are the 4 types of empathy that we're going to be going into today. And as we're doing this dive, I want to just open up the floor, give some shout outs to everybody. Beautiful to have you all in the house today. We got Pain Waves on the mic, Homer, Dr. Anila, Soul Librarian, JD, Miguel, all wonderful speakers, Dreamscape, Autism Kitty, my mama Naomi, Brittany, Aylin, AI Gaming, and the GRYSKLL fam down to the listeners. And, this is a beautiful space. So happy to have Kitty in the space. She's been with me since day 1 of Full Spectrum Saturday last June. So this is a great space. Let's get going. How's everybody doing today? What are you thinking about empathy? Who wants to take it first?
Well, I'll take it first while we work on getting everybody else acclimated and welcomed into the space. And I also do want to say, hey, JD, sorry I didn't coordinate with you on hosting today, man. I know you usually run controls. I didn't have time to coordinate this week, and I felt bad. Glad you're here, man. I'm really happy to see you in the space, man. It means a lot. But empathy, yeah, that for me, for the longest time, I felt like empathy was my weakness. And I'm learning to understand that that's really been my superpower over the past couple of years. That's been the one thing that's enabled me to get through most of the pain, and it's enabled me to connect and build meaningful relationships with people who understand me and who actually do care about me. Whereas before, my empathy is something that I would be taken advantage for. I would be laughed at about. I'd be clowned about for being too soft of a man. It's really gone from being an open sore to a badge of honor, and I'm really happy to be in a space where we can talk about it and learn about the different types. I didn't write down. I want to actually write down the 4 different types as we go. So I hope I'll get you to repeat that. But is there anybody else in here who'd like to speak? Anybody who'd like to speak, in these spaces, you can feel welcome to raise your hand and speak if you'd like. If you're comfortable just jumping in and there's a space, that's fine. But let's just try to be mindful and be really respectful of each other as they speak. Soul, I think I saw you raise your hand. Would you like to share a little bit?
Yeah, I'm sorry I didn't rush to raise my hand. My son had a hyper spill, so I was letting him roar and yell as much as possible until I got on the mic. He finally calmed down. Definitely empathy. I felt all my life that just sucks me in. Like, I don't want to do it. I don't want to feel everybody's feelings. And then once it happens, I step in like a sacrificial lamb in front of people so that I can absorb their feelings, so I can shift through them for them. Like, I felt responsible for everybody's feelings and their healing process. In a sense, I'm a Pisces, so a lot of stereotyping of being a martyr kind of like really isn't just a stereotype. It was something I wanted to really just be all, for them, because I felt like that was my superpower and that's how I'll get acknowledged for. So it was something that was very, I would say, toxic empathy out of the 4. I think I went through all of the empathy stages, except for I haven't heard of the neurodivergent one. But the hyper empathy, the double empathy, and the toxic empathy just sounds, I hope I did all of them. I think that's what I wrote down. But yeah, it's just like, I don't know. It's a hard topic to talk about now as an adult, because I still feel like I'm pulled in and sucked in into everybody's emotions, especially being a mother of 3 kids. Like, I tell them, I only have one brain and it's barely working for me. But I have a big enough heart. So I'm like, okay, I actually announce when I have time to absorb their energy, especially when they have nightmares and they interrupt my sleep. I want to nurture them, but I also told them not to watch anything scary at their dad's house. So it's like, go back to your bed. I can't really absorb or help you with any of your energies right now. I can't have you lay next to me. I can't do it. So I'm learning to just step out of everybody's emotional baggage and allowing them to sit with it through my kids. So I really do, when y'all meet my kids, just have snacks and games ready for them as gifts to these little deities of mine, because they really molded me into something so much better to present to you guys. So definitely I have been in practice with them, because I know if I fake it, my kids can pick up like, oh, mommy, you really don't care. I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna fake it. I'm not one to fake it. So I'm gonna let you know, I'm being straight up. I can't do it right now. They're like, okay, and they'll just start crying, and I don't know. It's a tug of war. I can feel tears coming through my eyes when you do. It's like a huge topic that's really sensitive. So I'm grateful for this topic for today, and I hope to hear everybody else's journey as my son is getting louder. So I'm going to get off the mic.
Thank you so much for sharing, Soul. There's such an interesting balance between the types of empathy, and especially being a parent. Like, it doesn't matter whether your kids are little or grown. As a parent, you're going to be more tied into their emotions than anyone else. And that means you're going to assimilate. You're going to physically take in their joy and their pain. And it's a roller coaster. I'm going to hand it over to Dr. Anila.
Hi, good day everyone. I don't know what time is there. Maybe the daytime, it's my evening time. So, hi everyone. And it was amazing last time. And I was so happy. And again, I'm so happy. I was very tired. I was even having a migraine a little bit. But the moment I jump in, I think everything is gone. So, it's like when you feel related to some place, when you feel that, okay, there are a lot of people where you belong. Uh, it's not that we don't belong to this world. Of course, this is our world. God created this world for us. But whenever people ask me, where to go, how to have, those boundaries, what is self love, I said that people make it look like it is very difficult, but it is not difficult. If you're looking for toward boundary setting, because that's how our empathy is going to diffuse in those places. If we talk about empathy, even if we talk about sympathy, like you're putting your feet into the other shoe or feeling the way they feel, or trying to make it like that you feel their pain. I think with all the sensory differences we have, with all the senses, extra senses we have, we don't have 5 senses, we have 8 senses. So that's how, and we have strong imagination, we have strong imaginative power. We can connect to the dots, we can see the patterns. That's how neurodivergent brain work. So when we see that, then we can directly connect to those people, because we know that the struggle that we are having, that is are the same struggle. But the problem is what? For example, if you're in a position that where you have to listen to people all the time, then there's a time came then when you don't understand that you should stop. And what is the reason? Because it is also giving you a meltdown, and you don't understand that why you're not feeling okay, why you're not up to something. Because either it's empathy, either it's double empathy, either it's neurodivergent empathy. Sometimes people take advantage of neurodivergent empathy too. Like this is what happened with me in the morning time, and I was a little bit angry about that, but I speak out for myself. That's how I survive in those situations, because if somebody is suffering, you're also suffering. So you would see people over there who is taking advantage of you. So I think if you understand that, okay, even if you cannot do something about that, at least try to speak out. That is going to give you something of your own energy. Otherwise, you're giving that empathy, you're giving that heart to everyone. So if it's, because it's a very diffuse thing, double empathy, anti-empathy, anti-empathy, because there's so many things that we have to comprehend for those things extra level. But the point is that what I'm saying over here, what I'm trying to say is, even sometimes as a therapist, I don't have energy to listen to things. Sometimes as a person, even as a very good person, I would say, or as a very good woman, or as a very good daughter, or as a very good mother, we don't have energy. So what we are going to do about it, and that is very, very important to understand for everyone, how you're going to save yourself. Because there was a time when people would say that we don't have empathy. That is totally wrong. We don't have emotions. That is totally wrong. The way we feel emotions, because we don't, and there's a very, very technical thing to that. Why we feel emotion? Because when we were born, a lot of people have issue with communication. So what do we do? Because sometimes people behavior is different, and they're saying different things that make us question a lot of things, because they are lying. So we pay more attention to their face, and we pay more attention to their facial expression, so we understand that they are lying or not. you know that's why we do that. That's why we're trying to understand that this time they actually mean this, or this time they actually did not mean that. Like they're coming from literal side, they're not coming from literal side. So that does make them understand their things more, understand their emotions more. So the problem comes when we don't have energy for ourselves, and we don't have enough energy to breathe. What are we gonna do about that? That is an actual question, and people don't understand. Even if it's a therapist, even if it's that mother, what we are going to do for self-love? We give this. We distributed our love in our community. We distributed freely that love to everyone. There is nothing bad about that. But at the end, you're actually like a tree who don't have leaves. You're without leaves. You don't have a fruit for yourself. That is the point when it is going to drain you. It is going to drain your whole thing. And if you and it is so hurtful that at the end that you're alone, like you don't get somebody around you to do something. And that is a point when it comes to save. Just try not to talk to people. At the end, I would say, because the discussion I started, maybe it does not feel at the moment relevant, but we will go to that thing, that how you're going to save ourselves from those things, how we are going to save ourselves from making boundaries, even if empathetic boundaries. So for the time, I would say that, and I will jump into the discussion again. I think I open the floor for a lot of questions.
Thank you so much, Dr. Anila. Yes, you definitely dropped some serious knowledge seed bombs and opened the door there I first want to give the mic to Homer and then Pain Waves. But before I do, there's some things that I was thinking about myself. There's an interesting balance in how we deal with empathy that everyone has detailed so far. And it's that balance between hyper empathy and the double empathy problem, where we are struggling to understand the facial features, expressions, tones, meanings, etc. of people around us and communicate with them. And at the same time, working on processing through our own emotions. And there's that hyper empathy of feeling what other people are feeling and not necessarily being able to regulate one's own emotions in the moment, which leads to toxic empathy. And that is the overcompensating, the masking. It's what leads to the burnout. And it also creates a vulnerability to narcissistic personalities. Because if we're focused entirely on how we can adapt ourselves to make other people comfortable, because we're afraid of our own energy and authenticity being misunderstood, then we will always push that overcompensation, and people who take advantage of that will grab it. Can you repeat that? Absolutely. So toxic empathy is when we over prioritize the needs and empathetic feelings of others beyond ourselves. And it leads to an overcompensation that develops as masking. We cover up all of these parts of ourselves. And Dr. Anila, I see you jumping in.
Because I would like to join in over because I would say that is a different aspect from empathy. That masking tone, that would be a little bit different thing. They are
right on the nose.
I think it's a little bit different thing.
You is right on the nose. Well, hold on. I want to Pain Waves. Let Dr. Anila speak. I mean, I've got.
Okay, let them speak. I will give my opinion, but let them speak because our discussion will go to the other side. Let them speak first, and we'll talk about that. Okay.
Okay. I'll finish up what I was saying, and then we'll go to Dr. Anila and get the professional response and reflection, because I'm very grateful having you in the space. Like that, it is wonderful to me having an autistic psychologist that is in the space here, sharing, growing, learning, and being able to give that professional view and reflection. And the term toxic empathy is actually something that I was introduced to through a TikToker that specializes on narcissistic personality disorder and talking about how one is connected and how one has relationships with people that have narcissistic personality disorder. And specifically, they were talking about how it is when one's hyper empathy, one's desire to feel what others feel and relate to others becomes cognitively more important than analyzing one's own feelings, where that sense of empathy for others and the sense of lack of self-worth overlap into a state of just covering up and masking all of what one is feeling. So the masking itself isn't an empathetic action. Like it is and it isn't. It's a weird balance. We're not being careful or caring to ourselves, but we're covering that up so we can appear empathetic and understanding to others. And that's the thing that can lead to vulnerability towards people with narcissistic personalities, because they'll see that and then they'll work on what they do. Like they just take advantage. So it's one of the things that I've considered a lot, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, Dr. Neela, and then I'll pass the mic to Homer.
Okay, I would like to take Homer perspective first, and I will like to add something over here, okay? Because his hand is high before than mine. I think we should give him time. Please, can you turn on your mic?
Thank you.
Yeah, Homer? Thank you, Doctor. Hey, voices. Good to see you all. Yeah, I just want to jump in. I can only stay a little bit, but I do always appreciate your space for this. So I did want to just speak a little bit about what my understanding on the kind of what I've been learning about the double empathy problem, where it is more of like a dichotomy from what I'm understanding, where it's like there's the cognitive empathy and the emotional empathy. And both of them, from what I'm gathering as a newly determined autistic or designated or undiagnosed still, both those cognitive, like autistic specifically, I'm learning that there's a kind of a struggle with the cognitive empathy, and despite a lot of autistics being highly intelligent, able to learn the processes and the intricacies of speech and patterns, really still struggling on the cognitive empathetic side, while the emotional side is really where you're feeling those others emotions as yourself. And they can both lead to like positive and negative, because when you think about emotional empathy and really understanding someone else's point of view, you can learn how to support them. And Dr. Neil mentioned boundaries, and that is so huge, that you're not putting your emotional, and Enoch also was talking about this, putting your own emotional needs and what you need, putting them aside. And so really boundary setting and learning how you process your emotions and become empathetic is important. But the thing that I struggled with that emotional empathy was a lot of teasing and scolding and bullying when I was young. I was that, oh, you're too emotional, or oh, you're too sensitive. And these are from adults and friends and family. So it's kind of that struggle. And yeah, it's like a double-edged sword both ways. Like you can get cut both ways. So appreciate you guys' space, and I'm gonna be listening for a little bit longer before I go. But yeah, thank you, Dr. Neil, for letting me jump in. I appreciate y'all.
Thank you, Homer. Appreciate everything you're saying. I fully relate. And I'm sure many of us do, on that sense of being told we're too sensitive or taking things too seriously, both as children and as adults. And that's just one of those, glad we have this space. Glad we're going into it. Dr. Anila, you were going to go, and then I'm going to pass the mic to Miguel.
Okay, I think the person with the name Pain Wave also have his hand first. If you want to talk, then I will get on, because I have seen his hand when we were talking before, but his hand was down.
Such a courteous and observant and kind scholar and facilitator and member of the group. We can tell all the professional training just comes through so nicely. Pain Waves, the mic is yours. And Dr. Anila, remember, you're not on the clock here. You can let down and just relax a little bit too.
Dr. Anil, sorry for getting upset at all. It's cool to talk to you, Enoch, right now. Just saying that empathy to me is like not really. I don't know. I have it for others, but not for myself. So when I experience it from others, like a year ago, I would get upset if I had people empathetic towards me. Just the way I perceive kindness, I guess. But yeah, that's my experience with empathy.
Thank you, Pain Waves. And I've seen the growth you've made in the last year. It's beautiful, brother.
Thank you so much for sharing. And yes, we are good observer, and we all know that. We just give details in many things. Okay, let me try to differentiate few things over here. Sometime, and this is happening with not just social media. It's happening in social media. It's happening on Facebook. It is happening a lot over there. And I sometimes ask parents not to study hyperly. We use that for hyperfixation. We use that hyperactive. So do not try to read hyperactively about a lot of things, because sometimes there is information that might fit for one person but does not fit for other person. So if we talk about even like the Pain was saying something, that is about, it's not about empathy, I would say it's about self-love. That is worse, and that is what is missing in a lot of neurodivergent people. I know, and we all know, it is very difficult to love yourself, because all the time you are judged on so many things and so many times that you don't know who you are, because you mask so perfectly, and you mask for survival. Masking is a survival skill. Just like stimming is a survival skill, masking is also a survival skill. And mask help you out in danger situation that might look like you could be attacked by certain things. So it is a defense mechanism that we used as masking. But if we talk about even empathy, we don't do empathize because we want to, you could say, we don't want even people approval for that. You know, it is something coming from inside. It is your inbuilt. You know, masking, we do masking according to our environment, but we don't empathize according to environment. Maybe sometimes we do that, but it is coming something from inside, and that is a very pure, you could say, emotion. But if we talk about as a survival skill that we are doing that, when we are in a situation, for example, if you say that we are in friend circle, we are in a community, just want to seek their approval so that they should be our friend, they include us. So for inclusion, we are going to extra length to help them out, to be a nicer person, to be a person who is available for everyone. You know, like you are doing a lot of labor, you are doing a lot of work over there, you are doing a lot of, you could say, their work. You know, you are holding their bag, and you are, you know, holding all the files and going with those people. You are holding all the things, and, you know, just helping out, just helping this or helping this, just to be more, you could say, to seek their approval. And you seek their approval because you wanted to be included in that community, you wanted to be included in that circle, you want that they ask you to come and sit with them. You are doing that because you want them to do that. So it might somehow you could go to into toxic empathy. But that toxic empathy, let me tell you something about toxic empathy too. You are empathizing for so many people that you forget yourself. You're empathizing with people, like, you know, we have seen a lot of people. We have seen a mother who is doing everything and she is not eating anything. This could come in toxicity. Like, she's helping everyone, she's helping her children. If there's a doctor, the doctor is helping everyone, but they're not helping themselves. It kind of could, those things could come in toxicity because it is something self-damaging acts. So if you are doing, if you're empathizing with other people, that is something coming from your inside, and you see other people and you feel their pain because you're made that way. And the other thing is that you are into that places for so long. So I think I try to dissect thing. Is it understandable right or now or not? Because I try to dissect all the terms that you said, or if I forget to mention anything you said.
No, that was spot on. That was really quite perfect. Thank you. And yeah, I wanna pass the mic to Soul and let you share some thoughts, because I see you got something bubbling up.
No, I just love what Dr. Nila said. I definitely think once you learn self-love, all the rest starts to mold itself into the understanding you need as a human being and as your journey. Because you know, Enoch, I've been unmasking and realizing what masking is for the last several months, well, 2 months probably. And it does come with a lot of the revelations I have, or the healing I have, came through my push through self-love, and the layers of, it felt like a shock collar masking when I was younger. Like a shock collar was on my throat chakra, and every time I did something that made my family uncomfortable, I learned through that shock of feeling not only the disapproval in their face, but the feelings they were having that were not layers in itself that I couldn't understand. But I knew the bigger emotions, like sympathizing, that is mine. Sympathizing help them relax and unlayer, and therefore I can feel their real feeling and then take upon their feelings and heal it. So such a good, like, I don't know, that shock hollering of masking helped me survive, and empathy was pushed onto me because that's the only way I could make people feel comfortable. And therefore, I'm here just like, what? And so when she said it takes a lot of self love to unfold a lot of things, yes, that's so true, because I'm still struggling at identifying who I not only am, have been representing, and who I want to be at the same time. So it's like this mixture of past, present, and future healing because of such masking. So yes, you hit me right at the heart when you said that.
Thank you, Soul. Thank you for jumping in and sharing that heartfelt response. Miguel.
Hey, great to be back. I just wanted to ride on what Dr. Anila mentioned, everything being discussed here, narcissistic personality disorder, toxicity. Something that wasn't touched with all of this is basically emotional vampires and what do you call this? People with savior complexes. Because when these emotional vampires pop up, everything that was mentioned is an emotional vampire. Like you can just be in the same room as them and you'll start feeling your energy getting drained out of you. And then pretty much they know how to spin the story, make you feel like you're the bad guy in every situation. So I'd like to get more thoughts on that from Dr. Anila. Thank you.
Okay, I turn on my mic without somebody jumping in. I hope you all are listening me. Sometimes, technology doesn't work.
We hear you. I was actually just fiddling around with my reception because I couldn't hear anything you were saying, Miguel. I'm sorry. I could see people.
I think now I can hear. I mean, can somebody hear me or not? Just send me one emotion, one emoji, one heart.
I can hear you, Doc.
Okay. So, whatever he's saying that, I think that pronunciation is a little bit difficult. I can guess it is Miguel about that emotional vampire. Right now, if we look toward the empathetic perspective, we are talking from something coming from inside. We did not touch yet something coming from external perspective. So that also include people using you because they will use you. That's what Enoch was saying, and that's what it was discussed before, that it is toxic and things like that, and people are feeding on that. People will feed on your emotion, and people will see that you're a very empathetic person, you're a very kind person. So they take advantage of you. They would take advantage of you in any form, and it exists there. But right now, our discussion was that what I mentioned over there before. Previously, I was talking about empathy coming from inside. For example, let me tell you something. If I say that I grow in a family that everybody is empathetic, you know, like it's like you have to take care of people, like you're feeding people, you're making a lot of food in your house so that you can feed other people. So no, that could be a personality trait, and that's how things are. And you're so nice to people that you're so kind to people that other people is taking advantage of you, and that is happening with a lot of people who are, you could say, who are autistic, who have ADHD, because why this is happening? If emotional vampire is around us, why it happens? Or if it is narcissistic people, why it's happening? Or if it is abuser, if we are in a relationship with abuser, why it is happening? The point is that we have very little opportunities to have somebody in our life, and there are so many reasons for that. And the point is that it is difficult for us even to get attached to someone in terms of, if we talk about friendship, and there are very few people who actually want to be our friends. So if somebody make us feel like that they are a friend, or maybe they're our friend, then we start opening up to them about ourselves, and they start getting the understanding that yes, this person is very kind, and the other thing is that, so I could exploit that. That is where emotional empire comes. And I would say that those emotional empires are the one who are your friends, whom you share a lot of things. I mean, a random person is not going to come and going to feed on you. A random person is not and going to suck all emotions from you. A random person is not going to come and play with your trauma. So those are the people who are around us. Those are emotional empire, and those are trying to control us, and they are controlling us. And why it is happening? Because we don't love ourselves. if we talk about people, we are brought up that way that we have to sacrifice. Maybe we think like that we have to sacrifice so that we are acceptable in the group. People like us, people love us, and we are doing, and we are keep on giving, and we don't understand that when the time came when we have to, we have no energy whenever we come to house. We have meltdowns, we have aggression, we have self-inflicting pain, and those kind of behavior we are not understanding, and this is because of happening. Everybody sucks our energy and we give them that energy. So those emotional empires are those people who knew that we don't love ourselves, we don't accept ourselves the way we are. Either we are masking, either we are doing whatever they are saying. So all the traits that we have, either it's being empathetic, either we are masking, and we are doing something, we have some problems, they are feeding on our trauma. So if I would say this, if somebody asked what they could do about that, if you are not comfortable in sharing your problem in a place, or if you're comfortable, what would be the next action? Okay, you're comfortable in a place, what could be the next action? What could be the red flag over there? If you say somebody something and that person listen to you without passing you any judgment, then it is your safe place. So go and find safe place for yourself, and do not let, and just throw that emotional empire from your around. These are toxic people, these are narcissistic people, and that they are going to cost you everything in your life. So this is what I would say for I think Miguel has his answer. I don't know where he's gone.
Thank you, Dr. Anila, for jumping in on that. I'm sorry, Miguel. I was rugging and I totally missed what you were saying before, but I feel like I can relate to the question based on the answer Dr. Anila gave. And thank you, Dr. Anila, for stepping in. Miguel, I know you got something to say in response.
Thanks, Dr. Anila. Yes, I just wanted to bring it up because, like, a lot of times narcissistic folks are within our closest circles, and usually some of the snakes that bite the hardest are usually people that we trust and eventually break that trust. That's why I brought it up, because I've experienced it before and I've learned how to really gauge things and eliminate anyone before they even last a week within my presence.
Amen to that. Yeah, amen to that. We've got some amazing new speakers that have come up onto the panel. So let's do a quick reset and then, go back around, check in a little more. So this is Full Spectrum Friday, the first and only regular Twitter space talking about neurodivergence from the inside out. I'm your host, Enoch Kaz, and it is my honor and pleasure to be here with the Full Spectrum family, just helping to guide this journey and discussion and create a space where people can share and examine and open up and grow. The topic today is 4 types of empathy, and we've been going pretty deep on the ways that hyperempathy and double empathy problem and toxic empathy relate to one another. So I'm sure we got a little bit more to go on that, and then we'll start going to that new type, neurodivergent empathy, which is something I just started thinking up last week. So haven't seen it anywhere. Let's get into this. Dragon, I know you got the NFT voices side of the reset.
Absolutely, brother. Let's go. We are NFT Voices. We're on a mission to create a thriving community where creative misfits feel empowered to collaborate and drive the narrative in the NFT space by communicating empathetically, collaborating enthusiastically, and putting people before profits. If you'd like to become a voice, go to nftvoices.io/apply. And we'd love to see you join the family. Enoch, let's get back to it, brother.
Absolutely. So we have some wonderful speakers that have joined up on the panel. I want to welcome up Philip, Luke, and my mama Naomi. Happy to have y'all up here. And I want to give everyone a chance to chime in with some thoughts on the discussion as we've had. So let's see some hands, and we'll go in the order. Philip, all yours.
Yeah, in counseling, like they started teaching us empathetic approaches. There's the cognitive side, where you try to put yourself in another person's shoes, and that's not always an easy approach to put yourself in somebody else's shoes, especially like when it could be a very traumatic situation, or like it hits home because it relates to something that you've already been through yourself. So those are always the topics that kind of resonate with me a lot, is when I'm sitting in a counseling room and somebody seems to bring up something that's very traumatic that hits the soft spot, and then I just and that's when I open up and try to give my insight with some of the past tense things that I've been through.
I feel you. It's an interesting thing when we are in a position of either being a counselor, a therapist, a coach, a guide, a teacher in some way, and someone brings up something that hits that soft spot for us. So there's the hyper empathy that tends to come in there, in my experience, where it's so much of one's own experience that comes through. Then there's that amplified sense of familiarity with another person. And that's one of the things that I do think is, even if someone's not a therapist or a counselor, just in conversation, we experience that. And one of the things that I think is important with the fourth type of empathy, that we get this into the discussion, neurodivergent empathy. To me, I was just thinking about this last week. I need to do some digging to see how much research has been done on the clinical side. But to me, neurodivergent empathy is more unspoken and intuitive. It's not about the body language in the same level. It is that reading of someone's energy. And very often, the neurodivergent empathy that we have naturally when we're very young, the ability to simply read someone's energy, gets overlapped because our brain gets programmed into this hyper analysis, into the double empathy problem, the hyper empathy, the toxic empathy, and we lose that intuitive connection, that reading sense. And part of unmasking is tapping back into that, because then we can tap into one another in that really authentic and loving way, and we can also read people in a better sense, so we're not taken advantage of by emotional vampires and those people that really would manipulate the hyper empathy that we experience to their own advantage. I want to welcome Joe So Happy. Welcome to the stage. Your hands up.
Hello. Nice to find you all. I was just going to say about the empathy thing. I mean, the intuitive empathy, I think it is a gift that we have, and it does bring benefits. I think it makes me a better person. But I think something I'm ADHD and autistic, and something and I was late diagnosed as well, so I didn't really understand myself. But I've never been very good, and I've really worked hard on it. It's made a massive difference to my life. Is working on setting your personal boundaries, checking in with yourself. Like if you feel like you're doing too much for someone, just taking time to step back and think, hang on, am I comfortable with this? And then there's the fear of, the rejection sensitivity as well, which is a huge thing to deal with. But I think the more you practice setting your boundaries and keeping to them with everybody in your life, because they're used to you being such a kind person, such an easygoing person, it can be a bit of a shock to people when you start saying, well, no. And it's really hard, but the more you do it, the easier it gets, and then the more fulfilling your life will be, because you'll be in tune with yourself. You'll be achieving things that you need, rather than always everything being about everyone else. And I really think like neurodivergent, like teenagers need lessons on this, because this empathy thing makes us more vulnerable to like love bombing, and then being in nasty relationships, which, I got with someone when I was 17, and it was an awfully abusive, emotionally, physical, abusive relationship. But it used to make me feel so guilty afterwards, and I feel so sorry for him. I think this is a really big educational gap that our neurodivergent children need,
Thank you, Joe. Thank you so much. So many good points. We do need to have more understanding of how we can read each other, how we can relate to each other, and how we compensate and overcompensate. Like you're saying, like the emotional instability that we experience could be as adolescents, it could be as adults when we're going through a crisis. It could be at many points of our lives, especially as neurodivergent people. It does make us vulnerable to love bombing. And that's one of those areas where there's actually, this is one of those things that's very interesting to talk about, the love bombing. And since we're in February, we're talking about empathy. Next week we're gonna actually be going into like relationships and sex, because it's Valentine's weekend. So why not talk about relationships and sex as neurodivergent people? We might as well. But since love bombing is part of all of this, one of the things that is hard for neurodivergent people to necessarily differentiate is love bombing and info dumping. Like when we like somebody, they become a special interest, and so we fixate on them. It doesn't matter, like especially an autistic person, like it doesn't matter how many levels of control you've built up. Like there's that part of you that's thinking about them. You're thinking about what they like. You're thinking about what you can do together. Like in my experience, at least, that's part of the cycle. And there's the balancing of focusing on oneself, and there's always that sense of like, how much do I show at what time so I don't seem like I'm love bombing? Whereas the best relationships I've had have been the ones where it was just authentic, and it was like that deep love from the beginning, and there was the ability to share, and it was real. So finding the ways to really differentiate what the energy that's coming to us is really important when we're looking at how we deal with empathy, especially in friendships and romantic relationships. Soul, your hand's up, the mic is yours.
Y'all gave me so many goodies to tap into, but I want to start with the fact that I was going to ask this question, and then I was like, no, I'll wait till Enoch explain neurodivergent empathy, because I have a feeling he's going to speak on it before I ask this question. And I wrote it down as proof, as like this divine connection we have, Enoch, because I wrote it down before you spoke. And it says, does anyone else just analyze people because you either see fakeness or see a clear path to help in helping them? And it hits right on the nose when you said neurodivergent empathy. I would instantly try to put the mask on to just, throw myself into empathy because that's what they want. But then there's certain people I just can't, and I just stare at them. And I'm asking myself, like, why don't I have any emotions? Why am I not doing the typical, like, empathetic, tap in, pull in? And it's because they're fake. This is not really emotion. This is not emotions I can't take from them. I'm just staring at them. And it's funny because my family will be like, why you just stare? And I'm like, I want to call them out and say, because none of this matters, because you really don't care. I think you're hyping it up. And if I say all these things, especially to a Black family, it's like, well, you being a smart aleck. I'm like, no, because you're faking crying. You're not really mad. I can tell. Like, and it's that instinct of like, oh, it's like that superpower that you just said, like, oh, I can literally, this is the right way of using empathy, knowing when to use it and when not to use it. And I thought that was beautiful that when you described neurodivergent empathy, I was like, yep, because I was about to ask that question. Sometimes I feel really empathetic, and then sometimes I'm like, it just shuts off. I'm like, I'm analyzing people, like, no, that's not it. So I love that that's the divine connection and the love bombing. I was the love bomber, and I still am. It's like, have you ever seen, I watch a lot of animal documentaries, so stay with me. There's these foxes that they were bred up in someone's home, and they get overexcited. And there was this one fox that digged a hole, because when he gets overexcited, he also gets scared, and he tries to dig a hole as quickly as possible, and he lays in it, but you can still see him, and he tries to put dirt on him. That's me with love bombing. I'm trying to secure a spot with somebody as quickly as possible by love bombing them to know that I'm there for them, and then hopefully I feel safe. But it feels like that fox. I look like that fox that's trying to hide in that hole and try to make a home out of it, but it's I dug it too quickly, and now the hole is like, what are you doing? The hole being another person, of course, and looking at me like, whoa, that was just like a month of just a lot. So I can really relate to love bombing and fixating on my relationships, because I feel more focused when I have something to analyze. So I do end up analyzing my significant others. So I love, that's what I meant by you guys giving me so many goodies, because I can really sit down and talk about each part. But yes, I'm gonna step down for a second.
Oh, bringing it in, Dragon.
Yeah, so wow, yeah, you definitely bring it in there. And I do have to say, before I go too far with Soul, I went to her gallery last weekend that she told us about, her virtual gallery. Her art is amazing, and I'm not exaggerating. I'm not trying to cater to her. I was completely dumbfounded by her art. So if you get a chance to check out some of her work, please do that. But I wanted to go back to the energy vampire conversation just a little bit. And I've got two questions. One, is the energy vampire exactly the same thing as a narcissist? And then two, do the energy vampires or narcissists necessarily always understand and know what they're doing? Because I know a lot of times when we speak about narcissism, we speak as if they're intentionally doing the things they do to hurt and harm other people. But I wonder if there's anything inside of a narcissistic personality that may not have control or understand what they're doing, and whether or not they really want to change. That's for you, Enoch, and for you, Dr. Anila.
So I don't think narcissists necessarily know what they're doing unless they've been diagnosed as a narcissist. At that point, they tend to understand, and I've actually seen some amazing content created by people who are diagnosed narcissists. There's a black man who is diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder, and he talks about it regularly because he wants people to understand from the inside out what he experiences. And I don't think narcissists know what they're doing. I think sociopaths know what they're doing. And that's a key differentiation. A narcissist is someone who unconsciously is going to be feeding off of others' energy. And they are likely wanting to get a positive emotional response and to make others feel good, but it's ultimately so that they can get something in return. Whereas a sociopath is calculated, knows exactly what they're doing it, why they're doing it, how they're doing it, and everything is with very distinct intention for purely personal gain. It has nothing to do with being able to understand people better. It has nothing to do with how to have a healthy relationship or fitting in. It's just about how can I get what I want, when I want, how I want it. And so, all of these are types of neurodivergence. It's the dark side. There's the yin and yang to everything. But that is one of the ways that I see a differentiation. And I think one of the ways that we can protect ourselves from others love bombing us is to love bomb ourselves. And that's really hard. It sounds weird, but we have to get to that point of being like, you know what? I'm going to do this for me. I'm going to go to the beach. I'm going to get my nails done. Yeah, I'm a man. I can get a mani-pedi. I can get a massage. You know what? Ain't no problem with just going and getting a face scrub. Why not? Treat me like a prince. That's the kind of thing. Like, if I'll do that for a woman I'm with, why wouldn't I do that for myself? Right? Why would I give that out to someone else and then expect them to reciprocate to me when I could give it to myself, build myself up to the point that when I give it to another person, it doesn't take away from me. You know, if I'm going to give my love to someone else, it's not because, I feel what you're saying, Soul, that sense of wanting to secure your place with another person. But when I've done that in reflection, like hindsight's 2020, it's because I don't feel secure with myself. It's because I don't feel secure in my own world, in my own life, in my sense of purpose, in my sense of direction. And I'm trying to find that in an archetypal relationship with another person. But I have to have that full balance in myself to be able to attract the partner that is going to be able to actually supplement and, you know, synergize with me in a way that creates greater harmony and greater productivity, instead of this back and forth of, well, I'm doing this for you, now you love me. Well, I did this for you, now you love me. Those are just some thoughts about everything everyone's been saying. And I want to pass the mic to Dr. Anila in case she's got something to say, and then to Soul. But before I do, there's one thing that's been bumping in my head, and I just got to get it out. The archetype of someone that is constantly giving to others because they don't feel like they belong, they want to be approved of by the group, that's actually been characterized really well in manga and anime by the bread shuttle. The kid that wants to fit in with the popular kids, and so they get sent to buy everyone lunch every day, and they have to use their own money to buy the lunch because they want to fit in. Like, that bread shuttle energy is the perfect example of that toxic empathy, giving more than to others than to oneself. So Anila, if you got anything to say, mic is yours, and then Soul.
So I would say that was interesting discussion. Everybody is raising very good point. What I would say about narcissistic people or narcissistic personality disorder, or it is, by the way, personality disorder is very difficult to diagnose because we have to see the pattern of that person in different situation. So if we are in contact with that person for some time, you know, for maybe in the school, maybe in the community, for some part of time, we did not observe that person for a lot of time. A lot of time people, if we talk about a personality is a kind of a persona. You know, people say that autistic people are masking, but NT people are doing personification. What a personification is? Personality is a word that is derived from a word persona, and persona is a mask that Spanish people used to wear on their face when they are going towards some, when they are going in some, they have their parties. So they wear that persona. So basically, personality is something you are trying to be. There's a specific word for that is not coming in my mind at the moment. But you want to be. People accept you in that community. People accept you in that society. So to be adaptable, to be acceptable there in that society, you act in certain way. So it means that you don't know what other person is inside capable of. So that is the reality of human being. I don't know people, why don't they don't talk about that? They're all concerned is autistic, are masking autistic, have this problem, autistic, have this problem. So I don't know why they have these concerns. So the point is that, okay, if they're doing the same thing, why a person would want to be the center of attention? Inside, you know, when we study personality, we study the concepts of complexes. Why a person have superiority complex? Inside that person have inferiority complex. He know that he have not enough. It means that somebody is not confident enough and somebody is not confident enough because he don't have skill. So there's is lacking in that person life, and they are portraying that in form of persona. You know, if in form of grandiose kind of a sense that he's the best, he can do the best. So if you see that somebody is all the time, you might have seen that there's a person in your group that who is, you know, doing boosting about himself all the time or herself all the time, that she did this, she had this achievement, she did this, she belonged to that thing, and she belonged to that thing. But when you go to that person, you would understand that they are nothing without those naming. So if you are a person who have his achievement, if you're a confident person, that you would not talk about that. But if you look toward the narcissistic people, what they do, they are predators. What they do, they will look toward a perfect predator. What could be a perfect predator? There would be a woman, or there would be a girl, or if we talk about because if it is a girl, then there was a boy who want to have some attention, who is the loner, who is the outcast kind of a person, and nobody's talking to them. So they would go to that person and they would kind of maximum use that person for their own benefit. It could be benefit in terms of physical thing, it could be benefit in terms of emotions, it could be benefit in terms of everything. So we have seen a lot of relationships, why they don't work, because that was the relationship in the universities. And in university, what that person was doing his all assignment, you know. So that was that friendship. So for them, you are nothing but a piece of tissue paper. And how would you understand that somebody is not like, you know, we all the time we are lying to ourselves. No, this person, because we are giving results, we want that person to stay, because that is a kind of a cycle. What they do, they would make you feel amazing person. They would first break you, they would first break down you to the core, and then they will build you. Then they will build you a different person, a person who think he is confident when he is with her. You know, like she's confident when he is with that person. So it's like somebody broke you first, then they make you another person, then they make you a person who need praise of that person all the time. For example, you would do something wrong and that person will praise you. No, you are very much right. So when you see that your wrong is right for somebody, that he so-called love you, it means that he love you or she love you. So that toxic love is coming from that side. So those girls, or you would say that it break my heart. That is a reality thing, but I'm trying to share over here. It breaks my heart. A lot of neurodivergent girls and boys, they are the predator of these people, because we are so afraid to tell our own problems to our family. We don't have different kind of attachment style to them. It's not that they don't know how to love us. They are doing, but we don't understand that. So, and we are so desperate for relationship with someone. We're so desperate for that. So if somebody, suppose I'm sitting over here and somebody send me a message, and I will feel better about it, because I don't currently I'm suppose I'm not having any friendship right now and somebody send me friend, and I would like to talk to that person. So it make something good, and the chemistry is going on. I'm feeling better. That person is feeling better, and things are going around and going on, because that was an easy thing. I don't have to work for that, and it is very difficult for us because we don't understand how to initiate different communications, how to initiate in different social circles. We cannot. It is difficult for us sometimes. It's not that we cannot do that. We can do that, but sometimes we don't find right people around us. So you do that. You get predator into that thing, and that person know that no matter what they do, no matter how many times they cheat, you love them because you're a very good person, you're a very good woman, you're a very good man. And you keep on doing that, and you will keep on giving that person many chances, and that person abuse you, that person abuse you physically, emotionally, in every possible way. That person abuse you. Either it's a woman, it's a man. And this is what I said in a discussion a day before yesterday, and they said, oh, you've got a very music and I'll stick with you are a very you have very different, and you have a very toxic view that women can do that. I said men and women both have chances to do that, and they are doing that. If there's some called, that thing that, oh, we have to save women, me too, then men too. So these are some reality of life, and that is happening with everywhere. So you get into that predator form, and abuser and abusee is a relationship, and there is something both are getting from that thing. That is why toxic marriages are going for so long. Both are feeding the need of something. The abuser have the need to abuse the person. He found a target, and the abusee, either it's a man, either it's a woman, they have this need to, they have this bonding. No matter, because they have this concept that no matter how much that person is in any form, because that person make you feel like that you're the worst person in the world, and that's why they ask you to stay with them. And so it's a psychological game going around that, and that's why you get into that thing. I think you have some question, you can ask me. I think I expand the discussion a lot. You can ask the question.
So I wanted to jump in. There were some great points that you made, Dr. Anila, and I know Sol had her hand up. But one of the things that I think is really interesting in terms of the person in the relationship with the narcissist, there have actually been studies done that show the patterning of narcissistic behavior in a relationship with someone causes a addiction in the brain. It starts with love bombing. So you get like you get love bombed and you get this dopamine rush. You get hit with it from one person in such an intense amount, especially for someone who's isolated, who's depressed, who is already feeling on the ropes.
Yeah.
You get
And who is sadistic actually? You know, they are sadistic people. That's why they do that. They feel happy when they, you know, if you talk about narcissistic people, they're sadistic people and they feel happy. They seek pleasure from that. That's why they are doing that. And this is what happened with them when they were child. They have a very bad childhood. That's why they are doing that. So somebody was saying that they are doing this by choice. Why they are doing? Everybody know that what they are doing, or until unless they get this idea inside that they are doing something wrong. But that is the only way they know how to do things. Until and unless, you know, they have to change themselves for something. So it's a very complex thing, by the way.
I absolutely
Complex.
think so. Like for some people, they know what they're doing. I think some people
Yeah, they know that.
I think there are some narcissists like who literally don't understand their own process because they were taught it as a kid. They were taught it by a parent. They were shown it. It's what they grew up with. And so they just assume that this is the structure of relationship, right? And then there are people that had healthy boundaries and parents and all that, and they learned that this was how they could get what they wanted. And those are the ones who are conscious in their action. But it's really interesting, the brain rewiring, because from the side of someone that's dated several highly narcissistic women and like been on that side where I had to realize.
That is, and you know, let me tell you something over here, because there is a very, very interesting experiment on reward and punishment. If you, there was a box, and there was two sides of that box, and they put a dog in that box, and there was a side of that box. Whenever dog go to that box, just because of any reason, they would crunch that side until that dog stopped jumping to the other side. So it was rewarding for him, and he was craving for that thing, you know. So his brain was wired to that. So he, you know, your whole nervous system, you could say, or your whole brain wiring, or your whole system changed to that thing. So definitely that's it. Both people are gaining something from that. That's why they're in a relationship. No matter how many times you said to that person, it's not good for you, it's not good for you, you cannot make other people act whatever you try to tell them until and unless they want to see that. You know, until and unless something happened to them, that's how they, you know, otherwise you cannot save them who don't want to save themselves.
I feel like that's one of the reasons why for people who have dealt with narcissistic partners and have repeatedly found themselves in relationships with abusers, you have to go through addiction therapy because your brain has actually been wired to a type of emotional response from someone. And so it is an addiction that you're looking for that emotional pattern with someone. And it can just be self-therapy and self-reflection and looking at it. But like I've taken 2 years away from dating and intimacy because I recognized like a pattern had gotten locked in, and I was like, nah, I ain't gonna play this. So yeah, thank you, Doc, for bringing up so many great points. I want to give Sol a chance because she had her hand up, and then Miguel and Luke, you've been throwing up waves and saying what's up for a minute. So I want to give you a chance to jump on the mic too. So Sol, Miguel, and Luke.
Once again, so many good goodies. It's funny because when I did raise my hand, I was thinking about the movie Mask with Jim Carrey in it. And that's why masking felt like for me as a child. So just that little nugget, if it's stuck in my head, I want you to stuck in y'all heads too as well. So I shared that little nugget. I too was attracted and been in many relationships with narcissists, and my dad was like, "You're such a smart kid. How do you fall into these?" And I really think it's because I find them absolutely fascinating. Coming from a family where I couldn't do everything to make my world fit me or manipulate people into fitting my world because that's just not who I am, I found it fascinating that narcissists will mold and break you just for their own sculpting of their world to make them feel more comfortable. So I thought that I still to this day think it's very interesting. Of course, I don't want to be caught up in another narcissistic relationship, but I can also contest to the fact that a lot of people that I've been around except for one, probably didn't know they were narcissistic until it was acknowledged, and the people who didn't fight fell out of their narcissistic ways in some ways. It may have took them a couple years, but because of that acknowledgement allowed them to like heal that part of them. And then the other person acknowledged it but still fell into the pattern. So I do believe like there's a possibility some people aren't aware, especially, and I hate doing black and white, but I am from the Black community. And so it's like a lot of Black men are called narcissistic if you think about it. And unfortunately, there are women. We just don't acknowledge it as much. They say they carry a lot of qualities of narcissistic when it came to light, and they wasn't aware of it. So I definitely don't want to speak on their behalf, of course, because I am not a Black male, but definitely an encounter and continues to encounter. Like, I'm the crazy person. If you're into zodiac signs, my family will say she's the one who dates Geminis happily because they don't bother me. if you know what that means. But it's just, I don't know. I love this conversation because we diving into the love bombing, the narcissistic, the relationships. Hopefully, in the next space, we'll get more into that. This really unfolds a lot for us in the unmasking process. So definitely a lot of goodies. But I'll hand the mic back to Enoch.
Thank you so much. Yeah, the dates Geminis happily. That's a good one. I've dated Geminis. I won't anymore. Just personal preference. Friends, absolutely. Business partners, cool. Dating, no. Just learn my lessons.
Can I just quickly put it out there that I'm a Gemini?
I love Geminis. That's why I've dated them. Because like there's a very strong energy. I'm like super Leo. So the fire and the air harmonize with each other, but I also am like very, very autistic when it comes down to it. I have my patterns. I'm like, if there's a flip on emotion suddenly, I'm like, wait, huh? And I've experienced that with Geminis, but maybe I need to find a Gemini that, I guess the problem was I was dating Geminis that were also narcissists. So I need to find a Gemini that isn't a narcissist if I want to be able to like experience what a Gemini is in a healthy way. That would be interesting. You know, that'll be an adventure. But Miguel, it's your shot.
I just wanted to thank Dr. Anila. She was basically talking about grooming and the Pavlovian conditioning of things. Pretty much it added to my stored knowledge.
I was talking about Skinner, by the way.
It's true.
I don't name what I was talking about Skinner's experiments.
I mean, it's true though. That is the basis of Pavlovian
That's the basis.
conditioning.
Conditioning was different thing. I was talking about the punishment experiment. I was talking about the main, after the conditioning, the so-called reward and punishment, positive reinforcement, negative reinforcement. I was talking about that actually.
That's another side of it that I'd love for us to actually like have a deep dive one day on the positive and negative reinforcement side of things in relationships. That's a great topic for.
I can talk for that for long time because I have read it so many times and I don't know how it makes sense.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like we could have a whole space that's just dedicated to the conversation on the different reinforcement patterns in relationships and how to recognize the negative ones and build on the positive ones. But I want to give Luke a chance to step on the mic. He's been very, very patient, and I want to welcome him to the family. How you doing, Luke?
Hey, how are you guys doing?
Fabulous. How are you?
Luke, we're doing great.
Good. Yeah, no, just saw your space there earlier in the week, and I got the notification. But I'm really happy I did. I am 50 years old. I'm a newly diagnosed on the spectrum, and over the last maybe 7 years, I've been trying to navigate through finding out why I, would take jobs, then get stressed out, then quit over and over and over again. And then, and why, certain things were so stressful, so then I, through some therapy and, working with some resources I have here, I was diagnosed, and I'm working with people on the employment side to get work. But, I found that out about myself. But actually, in the same time, I kind of knew over the last 3 years, maybe 3 or 4 years, that maybe more, that there's something, something not quite right. So it's very cognizant of my, I want to find out like my limitations. I want to turn the negativity into positivity. I want to find out more about myself. So it's like a real journey, and then a lot of therapy. But having the diagnosis, it's a little bit freeing, because it gives me some point to start. But I don't have any support in terms of people that are a psychologist that is on the working with autism. But and I don't really know where to start. I bought all these clocks because I have I get so tied up in like things, like little projects. I do internet stuff and make art on the internet. And I get just get caught up in that. And I always would be like late for work. And then even if I knew the time, I would just be late. I'm like, oh, this isn't going to take that long. Oh, wow, drawing a pitch here or something. I'm really into it. Oh man, I'm late for work, or I, 30 minutes left, or, I have 15 minutes to work. I could still get it. And then I'm in traffic, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to be late, And this really came to the forefront when I got involved with the food industry. And there's, that sense of urgency with the getting the food out to people's plates, and that whole environment was very, very challenging. And there would be multiple customers that I'd be working the register, and the register controls the instructions to the chef, right? So, and all the different chefs. So if you screwed up, and put in anything slightly wrong, it was the big panic. It was the big thing. So I would be fine for the whole day, really, and then, or a good part of the day. But then I'd get a few customers at the same time, and people talking different at the same, people ordering all their dishes at the same time, and then I'm analyzing a lot of things like, I don't want to screw up. What can I do to screw up? Concentrate on what they're saying. Remember that. Giving myself all these instructions on how to deal with the situation. At the same time, I'm trying to figure out the computer, system in the register and not make any mistakes. And then you have the customer to deal with. Am I being timely with this person? Am I addressing everything as necessary? Because if I go too slow just to not make mistakes, it'll be too slow. So I have to go fast. And if I make fast, I make the mistakes. And I kept doing it over and over again. And I was just, I told work that I'm like, listen, this is all like a lot for me to handle, and I keep making the same mistakes. And and I told them, I was like, I was recently diagnosed, with being on the spectrum, and it looks like, when things are busy, I'm gonna always hit this barrier, So I told them, I asked them for a few days off, right? And this is just recently. I asked them for a few days off, and they know the diagnosis. They are very aware of it, and it's very emotional telling them, by the way. So then they come, I took like 3 days off, and I said, I'm ready to go back to work now. And they said, we don't have any work for you. Although we're swamped, we have lots of hours. You just, you have to work the register. We're not going to let you do that. We don't do that. So I kind of never was able to get back to work there, and they didn't fire me, and I didn't quit per se, because I just needed time off to I was so exhausted of trying, and I don't know if this is what you talked about with masking, but analyzing every situation and trying to act a certain way to make sure that I keep my job, and so that I'm, not coming across as someone that's having difficulty understanding with the people, because I understand. And then also the computer system was multifaceted, but the fear of making a mistake and I've had this in other jobs too. The fear of making a mistake and doing anything wrong was paralyzing, and took me a long time to just if there was a customer that was negative, or I made a mistake, it's that would destroy the next customer, right? If I'm working the cash register, that I'd be like, oh man, I made a mistake there, and now I'm stressed, and then that person's unhappy. Then the next person here's what's going on, and then they're upset, and then I'm interpreting all their feelings. So it took me a long time to learn how to just take a deep breath, relax, and to manage my stress levels accordingly, and just to get through that one order and then not let that get to me on the next order. So I'm like, okay, I have a bad customer. Yeah, let's solve this problem. Yeah, I'm solving the problem. Now, let's put that behind me because I can't do anything about what happened, but let's focus on the next customer as if they were a new customer, fresh. I have no emotions. I'm not going to analyze that they overheard that I was having trouble, or didn't understand. So throughout my life, I've faced the same kind of scenarios, where everything's fine, I'm consistent, I'm doing the jobs, I'm performing well, and then I glitch out, and then I just freeze, and then there's a performance review, and then I just fear that they're going to fire me, so I quit, and then I don't have unemployment, and I do this over and over and over again, and which is why I make artwork online, is to try to support myself through that. But yeah, that's kind of my story. That's where I'm at. I mean, I guess I'm kind of halfway to being able to deal with a lot of it, because I'm aware of the diagnosis, and then I'm aware I have a toolbox of things to reduce the stress. But there's a lot of nuances that I'm not aware of being on the spectrum, and there's things that I'm not aware of. The social stuff, sure, I get that, but the kind of like when I'm about to glitch out, or when I need to take it slower, and how to manage that, I have no idea. So you guys are great. I'm trying to understand what you guys are saying, so I don't have. A lot of these terms are new to me, so I don't understand them. But that's kind of where I'm at.
Well, thank you so much for being so vulnerable and sharing your story, Luke. I can relate to a lot of parts of it, especially being in the food service industry. I spent 5 years on the other side, working on the line, and the rush. Anytime there was a rush, killed me. If I came in and found my station messed up with, nothing stocked and everything not in the appropriate place according to where it was supposed to be in the manual, I would have to control the internal meltdown and just get it done. And I remember I was working at this one Asian restaurant, this South Pacific Asian restaurant in like Beverly Hills adjacent. I was working the wok. For anyone who doesn't know, like you've seen a wok in Chinese movies and food things about Chinese food, the big round frying pan. There's a jet engine of a flame underneath that, and oil gets to like 500, 600 degrees Fahrenheit, really fast. So I had to fry an egg to put on top of some fried rice. Grabbed it from the cooler, cracked the egg. the cooler had turned down too far. So instead of it just being fresh, it was frozen. And I cracked the egg, was lifting it up, expecting it to slide out. The frozen egg didn't drop out of the shell until it was maybe 8 or 9 inches above a pool of boiling oil that splashed up over my forearm. And I'd gotten enough like small oil burns that I knew, oh, if I get a burn, just like hit my other sleeve on it, wipe the oil off, keep going. I did that. And then when I looked at my arm, I saw spots of white and pink. It had completely burned off my skin. And I just turned to my line lead, still masking completely. I saw the GM. I was like, I need burn cream. I'm like, what? Held up my arm. Everyone freaked out. I was like, no, it's not that bad. I can't feel anything. Like half masking, half disassociating from everything at that point. And just calmly got an Uber to UCLA, emergency care, got taken care of. But I was back in there the next day. I went back the next day, ready to go, because my masking program had made it so that like I had to do it. It was, if you don't show up, you don't get the money. If you don't get the money, you're not going to survive. So it was just the pattern. And that was the last like serious kitchen job I worked. I burnt myself out so completely there, physically, mentally, spiritually, in every way. I have not gone back since. Just too much of a burn. But yeah, there's a lot that we deal with in this space. And thank you so much for sharing. I want to do a quick reset before we get to all the hands. So just a quick reset here, and then I'll give Luke a chance to respond, then Joe, Dr. Anila, and Soul. And then we'll probably be about at wrap-up time. So this has been an amazing episode of Full Spectrum Friday, the first and only regular Twitter space dedicated to analyzing neurodiversity in all of its forms from the inside out. This is a space that is intended to be a learning, growing, sharing, safe space for neurodiverse adults and the friends and family of neurodiverse adults to come together, talk about our experiences, and really have the sense of community and the real community that we lack in so many other places. It is my honor to be a part of the NFT Voices family and to be sharing the space with my co-host, Dragon's Pitchfork. Dragon, mic is yours.
Yeah. Man, I'm telling you, I'm really enjoying just sitting back and listening and learning here today. I mean, this space is so full of information and just heartwarming and heart-wrenching stories in many cases. But I also hear stories of victory, and I'm really proud and happy to have a space where we can come together and where I can see so many people taking the time to unmask and taking advantage of the opportunity. It means a lot because I know what it takes to push yourself to unmask and share such vulnerability with a room full of people that you may not know from Jack. It's probably a little easier than sharing with people that you know, but it's still not easy. So I want to applaud everybody for their bravery and for their willingness to come share and help others by sharing their own stories. I also want to say what's up and peace to Phil. I haven't talked to you since last year, brother. I hope you're doing well. That's one of our fellow NFT voices, and I really miss you, bro. Good to hear you. Good to see you in the place. I know we don't speak much, and I know I don't reach out much. It doesn't mean I'm not thinking of you, bro. I just want you to know that I really do care about you, and I'm happy to see you here. So thank you for coming by, Phil. It means a lot. We are NFT Voices. We drive the narrative in the NFT space and empower creatives in Web3 by regularly hosting safe, authentic, and thought-provoking Twitter spaces that help you connect with your community more deeply. If you want to become a voice and join the community, go to nftvoices.io/apply and come share some time with us. Enoch, I'll send it right back to you, brother.
Thank you, Dragon. Always great to be in the space with you and to be here with everybody. So yes, we got about 27 minutes left. I want to give everyone a chance to share their thoughts and feelings. Luke, I think you were wanting to give a little response, and then we'll go to Joe, Dr. Anila, and Soul. Luke, going once, or going twice.
And if Luke doesn't, I saw Phil unmute for just a second. Hey, Phil, did you want to say a little something there, brother?
Oh, no. Well, I appreciate being here with all you guys, and, I'm going to try to make it a lot more of these, and, just because I haven't been around, I miss all you guys, and You know, like, I'll be back.
No
Much
problem,
love,
man.
Phil. Happy to have you here.
Yeah, never any pressure to be here, Phil. We're just happy to know you're doing well. It just feels good to know you're doing well. All right, Enoch, I'm sorry. Go ahead to who you were going on to next, brother.
All good, all good. Luke, I see you're unmiked.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So it's interesting to hear you're being in your head. You know, it's like you're just what people think about you. It's like I would spend you know, I was working with customers, but I would spend the whole day in my head. You know, just analyzing everything, not wanting to get fear of not being fired, and you know, that's where I'm. You know, and it sounds like what you were saying with the your line, you know, different tools not being where it is, or something happening, and then you glitch out, and yeah, I relate, man. I appreciate it. I also wrote a song, I wrote a song and I performed it with people as in NFT. I'm not going to play it. I don't have the facilities to play it right now, but if I could pin it to top, this is not a shill. This song is designed to be a tool to you know, give you inspiration if you're a neurodivergent person or disabled, and you need a little good vibes. This song is for that. It's also something that people can use in their own for a neurodivergent or nonverbal person to promote their own work online. They can play this before their NFT pitch if they're making art online, and or after, you know, and it can be a tool that inspire you to make art.
Thank you, Luke. Yeah, feel free to pin that to the top. We're always happy to see what members of the community are working on. And so I'm going to pass the mic on to Joe.
Hi. Well, I just want to say, Luke, welcome to Autistic Land. Welcome to the club. Yeah, you're in the right place learning from other autistic people. You won't go wrong there. You know that fear you have when you're worried you're going to do something wrong and then it's building up? That is a big chunk of rejection sensitivity dysphoria, and it's horrible. One tool I found to help me deal with rejection sensitivity, because it was ruling my life at one point, was I used to picture myself being like at the bottom of a well, and I was like pulling bricks out to get myself out, and these little bricks were like little tools I found like guided meditation and growing my vegetables and things like that was ways that I was crawling out of this well. But then there was a massive boulder like stopping me getting to the top, and that boulder was the rejection sensitivity. So I named it Bob. And every time I overcame it and did the thing anyway, I could picture Bob crumbling in my mind. This sounds really silly, but it's like a good visual that's actually really helped me. But yeah, it does get easier. I would say as well, it's because we get criticised so much from when we're young children all the way through our lives, and that voice inside us, you know, tells us that we're flawed, that we're messing up again. So for me, finding out about my neurodiversity was a gift, because I could look back over my life with compassion for myself and be kind to myself. And that was the first steps in me being able to start setting boundaries. And I would also say, the good things you've got about you, it doesn't sound like that job is suited to you. I think you thrive in the right place. Don't let the things you struggle with make you think that you're not good at anything. You just need to find those things that works for you, and you will get there.
Amen to that.
That's awesome. I appreciate it. I'm definitely going to come back. This is very helpful for me. I'm going to Google that rejection. What was that? Rejection therapy? Rejection something or other? What was that?
It's called rejection sensitive dysphoria.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to look that up. I've never heard of it, so I'm going to look that up.
Another topic of conversation that we're going to go into. It would be good to have an entire space about different types of dysphoria that are experienced by neurodivergent people. That's actually an interesting subject for a space that we'll have to dive into at some point. So thank you for bringing that so promptly to the fore. I want to pass the mic, I think it was to Dr. Anila, and then to Soul.
Okay. Thank you so much, Jolene. You're doing great over here. I'm happy that you're here. Happy to see you here. And whatever she was saying, if it is about rejection, it's a very different thing, because we somehow today talk about that too, that why we are doing certain things. Even if we talk about empathy, or we were talking about masking. So there are a lot of things, that's why we are doing that, and why we want to be acceptable in certain places, so that people include us. We actually wanted to be included in certain places. So that's why we are doing a lot of things. We are doing things beyond our capacity, and I talk about it a lot. But over here, I would like to say something over here, that that happened with somebody was sharing that thing. I don't know. I'm not very good with name. I'm really sorry. Is it for dragon? It was for Enoch. Very bad with names. So it would take me some time to remember those names. So it was about, the thing is called selective mutism, and somebody, some would, I was in a discussion and they said that we'd rather call it selective mutism, why not we call it situational mutism. So it is a condition, it is happening with neurodivergent people and autistic or ADHD people sometimes, that you cannot share your pain with someone. Like, you need something, you are so hungry, but you cannot say this to someone that you want that. A case example that will help you understand that what it is, and what that person was experienced, whose hand was burned, and he was not able to tell this to someone. There was a girl, and she was young girl, and there was the snow time, and she was playing, and actually there was the friend of that girl came because her mother had to go to some place, so she just left her daughter over there and she went outside. And when the mother came, it was almost evening time. Her daughter was standing outside and it was snowing in the area, and she was not wearing anything. That that girl mother asked that, that you could say that relative of some aunt of that girl, where she was, where she was in that area, basically the owner of that house. She said that anything, and it's snowing outside, and she's here for 4 or 5 long hours. You should have asked. Why you didn't ask her to go inside? And she said that she did not ask me to do that. She did not mention that I need to go inside. I thought that she's playing. She want to play. So that was the whole thing. The girl was not able to tell that woman that I also want to come, because that woman did not call her. So she was not called. She thought that she's not included. So that's why that make her stop, freeze at that place, mute at that place. That is called selective mutism, and we face that a lot of times. So that's why when somebody asks something, somebody question us about something, when when they're inquiring something, when they're asking us that did you do that, and you just lost your words, you cannot speak for yourself, you cannot advocate for yourself. That is that condition, and we are all going through that. But I think it's good that we are doing those discussions, and with time to time we will also talk about mutism, and that is a kind of anxiety thing. It is also coming in disorder, but it is a state that I would like to describe over here, and it's also a form of flight, freeze, and fawn response. So that was what was happening with you. So this is what I would like to contribute here for the time. I will not talk much, because I know that I'm going to open a lot of discussion forum again, and people have questions and they will raise their hands.
Ooh, always dropping those seed bombs. Always. And I'm so grateful to have every last one of them. Selective mutism is an interesting one when we're analyzing all of the different types of empathy. Like, without being invited in, it kind of makes me think of vampire mythology, where without being invited in, you can't cross the threshold. Like, there's a lot of times where mentally I feel like that. It's like, without being invited into the conversation, I don't know how to step in. Without being invited into the collaboration, there's that part of me that's like, how do I cross the threshold? And that's one of those things that has been really difficult to express to people. Like, I just don't know how, unless there is a natural bridge, a context where I can make that connection. Straight Tony the Tiger. So, you've been waiting patiently. How you feeling, sister?
No, I kind of forgot what I know what I was gonna say, but the flow of the conversation just dropped more golden nuggets. So I definitely just listening at this point because my brain's just faulted. So
Go back. So it's been really beautiful having all of these deep discussions. We've had some intense ones. We've had some painful talks. But one of the things that I think is important to recognize is we've been practicing neurodivergent empathy this entire time. Like that fourth type empathy, we're doing it because here we are actually relating, sharing to one another, having this healthy connection, being able to share information that helps us to understand more about ourselves and to build a better world for ourselves and for our loved ones. This is the purpose of the space and the practice to increase neurodivergent empathy and awareness and advocacy, because those are the backbones of a healthy community and healthy society. And so much gratitude to everyone in the space for everything that has gone on, all the discussions today. I know last week we said we should take a little bit of time at the end of each space to give everyone a chance to just share a little bit of something they're working on and to be able to do a little brainstorm collaboration. So if anyone would like to very shortly share something you're working on and how you are inviting assistance and community support in that project, this is your time. Shoot your shot. What you got? Joe.
I don't know if this is what you mean, but myself, because I've got 3 neurodivergent girls as well, and I've had a hell of a fight trying to get education, healthcare and stuff for them. So, my sense of injustice is like on fire. So I've been getting involved in all sorts of things. I'm part of this project it's through Welsh Government, actually, where I live. It's called Equal Power, Equal Voice, and they're trying to get more people from different ethnicities, disabled people, and so on into public life. So in government and on panels and on, different things. So yeah, I'm part of this amazing mentor program now as a neurodivergent person, hopefully to lead me to being into public life. And then I'm also getting involved in all sorts of local things, because I think if you want society to be better, more neurodivergent friendly, you have to introduce them to neurodivergent people like myself and enlighten them. So that's what I'm doing at the moment. I'm involved with all sorts, but it feeds me, it gives me something to live for, something I'm passionate about.
That is fantastic. I love it. That sounds like a wonderful initiative to be a part of, a wonderful community to be a part of. Is there any way that the Full Spectrum family can support you? That, do you need some help with reaching out, getting more attention to what you're doing? Is there interest in the community in bridging into Web3 and NFTs and using that? Because a lot of us here are in that world. We can share insight and maybe help build a little project or a program that would be able to draw some awareness and get some ducats raised.
Well, I am not tech savvy. I don't even know what an NFT is. So I'm literally just a bum.
Well then, I think we have a mission. I know that I could literally see some wheels turning in people's heads from here. I'm looking at it like 4 PFPs right now being like, yep, I got people that got ideas, and there's already hands up. So I'm going to pass it to Miguel and then Soul.
Joe, we'd like to invite you to watch our live stream tomorrow.
Did you say Miguel first?
Yeah, Miguel first, Soul.
Yeah. So Joe, you can check out our live stream tomorrow. It's called Color the Blockchain. We are currently onboarding someone also who's not tech savvy and guiding her through pretty much setting up in the Web3 space. Dragon can touch more on that. Dragon, do you want to take over?
Yeah, sure. What we do is we take social impact causes that are working in the real world, and we are trying to help them, especially the ones that are looking to assist women and people of color. We try to help them understand what Web3 technology is, how it can help their cause, and we will also help design an NFT to help support their cause as well. We take 4 weeks with each of the causes. We're just on week 3 with our first cause, but we want to keep going with this. So if you DM me, I can get a conversation started with you, and we can work to see what we can do to maybe help you at least understand Web3 technology. If not, get you on as a guest and as a featured cause. Just feel free to DM me.
Oh, thank you. I mean, because I've got like my Facebook page that with the same name as my Twitter thing, where I write some blog stuff on there, try and share some information because I was late diagnosed. I want to educate other women to not feel like they're just going through life as they're broken. I want them to understand and have their light bulb moment, you know, and also things around being a neurodivergent parent. I'm really passionate about supporting other neurodivergent parents because we have, you know, struggles that people just don't even think about. You know,
That's beautiful. We're here to try to do whatever we can to support whoever we can. So look forward to talking to you.
And that's how we do it. That's what being a family is all about. Being able to not just come together, share what's on our hearts and on our minds, but actually like, what are we working on? And how can we use our gifts and our talents and our
confidence to think I can achieve things, be confident about the future.
Oh God, yeah, absolutely. So many ways. Soul, the mic is
A small segment that just highlights the still making history concept of not knowing how. I had this TikTok last year that said, we help. So we have the front stage people who was on the stage doing the things that they're doing and yet need help with the more administrative parts and the building parts. And yeah, I hear a big crowd cry in the community. And I literally had to step in and say, well, some of us are coming out of the blue, just like artists are coming out of the blue because of AI. Some of us are trying to come out and say, okay, we do want to hold these spaces. We do want to give you a stage. We want to be in the back scenes and build and help and curate, but we don't have mentors ourselves. Some of us don't have credentials. Some of us don't have certifications. So we're learning as we're going as well. But the community is asking for more platforms. So as an individual who's trying to get to the nitty gritty in the most reasonable way, you know, not just up in the clouds, but how do we do this? I want to bring more voices like Enoch and of course Dragon to these talks of, okay, if you need a mentor or what's your journey on building, you know, the spectrum spaces, what are you doing and using AI, GPT, oh my God, chat, oh my God, it shouldn't be that hard, right? But it's like, you know what I mean? But the tools you use to create spaces like this, the safe spaces you're creating, the meetings you're creating, and I want us to understand that there are people who are doing it, who's a little bit further than us and building these safe spaces. So definitely it's going to be called Help. You'll see the flyer pop up on my page, and we're going to have some spaces where we can hold conversations where we have other people who want to be behind the scenes, but they need help. They need guidance. They need find somebody else's journey to see, okay, how are you doing it so I can do it as well? Because and if people who want to be in the background, we need, but I sometimes don't know what I'm doing and I'm taking on a lot. So definitely going to start opening spaces. So if any of you have any experience or journey, you're on your journey right now of how you're building sectors of safe spaces for people, I would love to have this conversation more. So yes, I'm bringing that up soon.
Thank you, Soul. So many good things. And we're definitely going to have some talks, many talks about the work we can do together, because I had to see parallels between our projects. I want to pass along to Dr. Anila.
Still opening and my laptop is open and I have a lot of ideas all the time. and I'm putting my head into a lot of things. Maybe this is my fixation, you could say. But what I would like to do, because I'm doing this for some time and I'm not a tech guy, you could say. You should understand that I'm doing those things alone. I don't have a produce this, that I have to do this, and I have to make presentations. So there are so many things that I want to do, and I want to share their, you could say, experience with me. Like I had Jolene in my one of discussion, that was one of the amazing discussion that we had, and it got a lot of views too. And she shared her journey with me open heartedly. So I would like to do those things where I would like to create some kind of you know, like I'm doing this already thing, but I would like to do this on different level. Like there's a lot of things in different culture, but what we don't understand that there are a lot of these problems are universal problems. That it's not like it this problem belong to certain culture. This problem belong to certain color. It's not even like that. So I would like to do those things that help a lot of people, and that mean understanding, that mean doing some basic understanding. Because I just did one thing that, and people asked me that your topic is very difficult, and I said that is the you know that is the name of that thing. I cannot change that thing, but the point is that okay, we need to get more to accessible people. But that is what I would like to do. Maybe I don't know, I explain myself over here or not, but this is what I want to do. I don't know what or not. This is what I would like to know.
I thoroughly relate. I have dozens. It hurts, but I feel you on that sense of people that I'm having regular weekly meetings with, and going into like, how are we building this company? Because my focus is on building a company that will do for neurodivergent people in various fields of employment and industries what this space is doing for us in terms of community and connection. To have a multi-divisional company that is able to reach across industries, because every industry is connected in one way or another, and to be able to hire primarily neurodivergent adults who need to have a healthy, collaborative, cooperative, and compassionate workspace.
Let me tell you something over here. It's not that I'm in some capacity alone in that sense. Okay, I am working with a lot of places, and like I just connected with you too. It's not even about that. I would like to reach out to people in terms of the message I'm trying to give over here. Like if we discuss a lot of things, I did not get that from some place. I have those things, and I have learned from talking to reach out to people, that they understand that, oh, okay, how does it mean to be a neurodivergent person? How does it mean to be a neurodivergent and a therapist? What does it mean that you have your own struggle, and how you are taking out yourself from that, and you work on yourself? You don't get things on your plate, you have to work on that. So it will be more like that. I would like to do something like that, like narrative around research. I would like to change that. I think there's a lot of but it will be more like a reaching out people. That would be, I would say, that people read my message and they understand that. So this is what I mean.
I feel you. And won't it be nice when there's a company that has a support team of neurodivergent marketers and communicators that can build up all of your messaging, your website, your like your blog, just have all of these things, do the short form content for you for TikTok and just crank it out so you can focus on your podcast and one-on-one sessions, and they can take clips from the podcast, splice that up for a short form content, and help you with all of your marketing.
Talk to me also. It's very difficult to reach out to them, and it needs a lot of courage, Wherever we are today, it took a lot of ages to come to that platform, actually. It's not one day job.
It's not easy. It's not easy. And these are the things that I'm doing with my company. And I'm really happy to have two of my team members in the space with me here today. And, really to have three of my team members looking at it, because I see we've had two on the mic and one as a listener. And this is a long-term project. It is a long-term goal, because I see that the work that everyone is doing needs to have a stable and solid support structure for it to be able to move forward effectively. And that's going to be initiated and maintained best by neurodivergent people. So that's the sauce that I got simmering on the stove. Dragon, You got a little something for us before we do our final wrap up?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it sounds like we're all doing the same thing in just different ways. And joining forces and working together is absolutely the key, not just in Web3 and in the real world. So Enoch, you know, you and I are already kind of joined at the hip, working together to try and help each other achieve our goals. Dr. Anila, we had our first meeting. I'm going to be a little slow. I'm just going to let everybody know I'm going to be a little slow for a minute because I'm working on another challenge. But as soon as this challenge is over, I'm back to full speed ahead on everything here. And just to kind of support that, I want to go ahead and mention a couple things I have going on in my world in case anybody wants to throw a hat my way. I'm working on, as Miguel said, we're hosting live spaces for Color the Blockchain every Saturday. We do live streams to help provide equal access to Web3 for people of all types, women, people of color. We want to level the playing field here in Web3. So join one of our live streams, 12 p.m. Saturday, every Saturday. That's colortheblockchain.org if you want to check us out there. I've also got an NFT project myself that's called Pitchfork Pieces. If you want to chip in there, it would be a great idea. It's a content library. You can go to dragonspitchfork.com and hit the Pitchfork Pieces drop down menu. There's actually a Web3 menu on there. You can hit that and get to the collection. It's a music and video piece that you buy, but it's actually a key to a content vault. Also working with the Rap Heads community to provide a place for music collaboration, to help encourage more and more people to make music for the love of making music and for the reason that it because it is one of those things that helps you maintain your wellness if you're a creator. Creators need to create in order to stay well, and they need to create for the sake of wellness, not just for the sake of trying to earn money. And we're there to encourage that with the Rap Heads community. And always, just like we've been saying throughout all of these breaks here today, if you want to be a voice and help spread messages to other creative misfits and creatives in this Web3 space, go to nftvoices.io/apply. Join us, help us spread the word. Joe, I see you got a little something to say there. Please.
Just to say,
He's like, no, you don't need that.
Don't worry about that at all.
Like that.
I'm running through all of this fast because I know I'm working on this big long pen tweet to talk about all the different things I'm working on. I know I run my mouth pretty quickly. Dr. Neil has been helping me understand that people on the neurodivergent scale, some of us when we get excited, our mouths go a million miles a minute, and mine definitely does that. I'll send you a DM, Joe. Dr. Neil, I'll send you a DM as well. I'm working on this pen tweet that'll have all of my information on there and the information for all of the different communities that I'm building and co-building and supporting. So I look forward to any support anyone can offer. And I also look forward to opportunities to support more and more of you in the community, because that's my passion. That's what I love to do. Enoch, back to you for the close, brother.
Thank you, brother. This has been truly an amazing space, and thank you to all of our wonderful speakers today, my co-host, Dragon's Pitchfork, Dr. Anila, Joe, Sol, Miguel, everyone who was up here as a speaker over the course of today. Thank you to our wonderful and supportive listeners. Evan, great to see you, brother. It's been a minute. Happy to have you listening in on the end here. Wally, always good to see you. Donna Night Owl, you know, we tight. I'll see you every Wednesday. I always happy to see you in here. Kitty, beautiful to have you back in the full spectrum spaces this morning, and looking forward to seeing you in the Unmasking program. Check your email. I got that paperwork sent out to you. Mama, always beautiful to have you supporting me. Thank you for all you do in continually being the number one person in my support structure. And the GRYSKLL community. You know, I might be having to join up soon. I'm noticing some shifts in my beard, getting some lightness. It's been a great space today, and I'm so honored and proud to be the captain of this ship with all of you. I look forward to continuing this voyage as we go forward onto the horizon. Until next time, I have been your host. I am your host, and I'm always happy to host you again. Enoch Kaz saying this has been Full Spectrum Friday. Much love.
Bye.